Welcome back to Speaking Llama Survivor podcast, and we are stoked to have our next Brains V Brawn post-season interview with the legend PD. PD, what's going on, man? How are you?
Hey, you boys. Hey, I'm happier to be here than you are. So this is brilliant. I love it.
So good, so good. We have been waiting a long time to be able to talk to you. You were one of my very first draft picks of the season. I was so excited. I was like, man, this guy can beat everyone else's tribe with one arm. And unfortunately, we almost got there.
Yeah. Yeah,
Awesome.
unfortunately, if you look up idiot in the dictionary, you're probably going to see a smiling face of me. Yeah.
No. There's a certain other friend of the podcast that went home with two idols in his pocket, Mr. Simon Me. So you didn't do that. You're good.
That's good.
Yeah. Always the silver lining there with Caleb. All right. Well, PD, we're stoked to be able to talk a little bit about kind of the early stage to the game, the swap tribe, and then the merge tribe. So first question as we jump in here, I mean, you said you were a fan of Survivor, and so I would love to hear what's your story with Survivor? How did you get hooked watching the show? Did you always want to play? Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so like back home, like we see the American series for years and years, and like our whole family we've grown up watching it, you know. So I've got a 17-year-old and a 13-year-old, and every single season like we've watched. So we actually do this little sweepstakes, like we draw a name out of the hat, and if your player wins, you get to choose dinner for the family. So it's a tradition that we've had for years and years. And you know, every single season I've said that I want to get on it, and the kids were always like, "Yeah, do it, Dad. You'd be great." And I never got around to doing it, and it's because of my now 14-year-old daughter. The last time I said that I'd do it, she just absolutely blew it off and goes, "You're never going to do that, Dad. Stop talking about it." So I did it, and got on the Brawns team. So
there it is.
With every episode, every move, every review at the end of each show, we love it. So we always have.
Oh, wonderful.
So
what was there, when you got the call to go on, how did your kids feel about it? What was their reaction when you got that call?
I've got a 17-year-old son that he just takes it pretty cool. Like he's fine. But my daughter in particular, like she was really excited. You know, the whole family were. So no, it was a big moment. When you know that you're getting close to potentially getting on, then it starts to get real. And we didn't get our hopes up too early, but certainly when I got that final call, it was a big, exciting moment, and we couldn't wait. So they've lived the whole journey with me. It's been enormous.
Yeah. Now, did you tell them everything that happened, or just give an overview? Like what when you came back, what all did they know before the season started?
No, they knew everything. So blow by blow, they knew it all. So it's hard not to, because you want to talk about it so much. But there were certain things I said if they want to watch the show and just not have any info. But there was none of that. They wanted every bit of detail. So we had a good debrief at home and then watched it back, which was still a lot of fun when you know what's happened behind the scenes beforehand. Yeah.
For sure. Well, so in I think it was week 1, the recap, Caleb and I, we noticed in the intro package, the intro video of the season, you've got the Brains tribe riding in on a bus, and you've got the Brawn tribe running alongside of it, jumping off of cliffs, climbing what seemed like mountains.
Yeah,
I was like, this is unfair. My Brawn tribe, they're tiring themselves out before the season even starts. What's going on? Yeah. So walk us through kind of that experience, that preseason part. Was it really like we are running down this dirt road while everyone else is in the bus watching us?
Yeah. And you're hiding in the trees beforehand, and you come out in pairs and then run alongside the bus. And I don't know if I've ever been abused more verbally than what the Brains tribe gave us when they're hanging out of the bus. And some of it I don't even understand. Like, I remember Kent was yelling at us saying, like, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. He was yelling at me. And I'm like, what does that even mean, Kent? So, no, but it was a lot of fun, because that's part of the experience, right? Yeah. So before you enter the show and you go and do, some of the, like, the intro work, Man, your excitement goes from 0 to off the charts real quick. So it's a rush. Every part of it, when you've been wanting to do it for so long, it's a huge rush. It's so good.
Yep. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Well, I'm curious too. So, you're running alongside the bus, you're with your tribe, and then ultimately go to the challenge, I'm assuming the next day or something like that. What are some of your first impressions, both of your own tribe as well as, those brains over there, those pesky brains?
Yeah, I actually said to people as soon as I saw the Brains tribe, there's some big units in this tribe. There's some fit people, right? It's the first thing I noticed as soon as I got there. And I was like, I don't know if we're actually going to be out muscling them in challenges. But then a few of them said to us in the end, like, a fair few of you Brawns aren't exactly stupid either, right? So there was an even split, even though there was a strong theme. There were some capable people on either side, but certainly when the first challenge hit us, you've never been more motivated to win anything in your life. It like you go in and like it's almost like your tribe to die on the battlefield before you walk away with a loss. So yeah, everybody's competitive spirit went through the roof.
Yeah, I can only imagine. Like you have the nerves. It's that pregame jitter that happens, and then you're going. Especially, I imagine y'all are there for at least a few days, about a week before you actually start the game. Is that right?
Yeah, it's about a week.
Okay,
yeah, so pre-work, make sure like everybody settles in. You disconnect from because you do have to decompress. Like before you leave your respective cities, there's a lot going on. You're giving up your life for possibly 2.5, 3 months. So there's a lot to work through. So decompressing before you go into the game, I think, is like a really important thing. And then as soon as everybody's ready, you press play and the Hunger Games start, right? So it's on.
And it is on indeed. Well, one of the reasons we are excited to talk with you is that unfortunately, there's 24 people. Not everyone can get all the screen time. Not everyone's out there like Miles finding 4 idols and or Karin giving great confessionals that are just sarcastic and humorous. But we didn't get to see a ton of your strategy. And Alex and I have suspected that you were a bigger part of the game than maybe what was seen. So can you tell us what your strategy was, especially early in the game going in?
Yeah, I actually thought going in, I had no sort of interest in being one of those that burn really bright really early. And you can tell who they're going to be, right? So the ones that they've got so much ammunition and they just go fire and they send it all in. And they burn bright but burn quickly, right? So I had no intention of doing that. I just wanted to really suss out and find my people. And I was actually really happy with how that sort of transpired over the first week and a half of the game. So not that I like going under the radar. That's not the right sort of terminology for it. I was just working through to establish who I could connect with. And we had some real strong connections that were, I think, ones that you could trust. But didn't want to make any brash moves. Because I think even in any sporting field that you think of, the finals aren't won, in the first couple of rounds. Like you have to go deep into the game and then work out who you can actually rely on. So that was the strategy. Just work out who my people were and get a nice foothold into the game, and then make moves post that when you knew who you were working with you could rely on. So it worked well up until a particular point. It all blew up badly.
Well, so early on then, who were some of those relationships, friendships that you built early on that you felt like, okay, these are going to carry me through the game?
Yeah, like early on, so that's Brawn, like OG Brawn, Kristen, Ursula, Zen, who unfortunately did his hand and had to go. Nashs was in there as well, but Nashs was really intent of throwing grenades and then diving on those exact grenades himself, right? So he was an odd one. But Kristen and Ursula, and if Zen stayed around, that definitely would have been a group that 100% you could rely upon, So that was my very first strong connection in the game, and I was really happy. They were definitely like my type of people.
Yeah. Yeah, well, speaking of Nash, you talked about the people that burn bright real fast, and Nash
Yeah.
fits the bill. What
Yeah.
was your reaction, right, to the walking in with the idol on? Like, it seemed like he stood there for a while before anyone really noticed. Like, what,
Yeah.
from your perspective, tell us how that played out.
Yeah. So he went off with Zen, right? And what you don't actually see is 30 seconds later, they call me over and the three of us are out there. And my exact things, I was wrapped with Nash. I saw it around there. I'd gone, good on you, bro. That is amazing. Well done. But why are you wearing it around your neck? And he goes, I'm going to go in and I'm going to show it. And I'm like, it's your idol to play, but why would you do that? Like, just stick it in your pocket. Have a think about it. Just do it later if that's what you choose to do. But no. He got his 6 guns out there and he just walked in blazing away. So what a character. I talk to him still, and he says he doesn't regret a single thing, but it's hard not to. If ultimately that leads to your demise and you don't get as far in the game as what you'd like, I reckon in hindsight he probably would have played it differently, but it was full of excitement and energy and just, lost control of it and went in.
Yeah. Do you feel like, Zen going home seemed to be like a pivotal, like that seemed to be a relationship that Nash was relying on. Do you feel like if Zen had stayed in the game, would that have helped Nash, or do you think it probably ends up the same way?
I think it would have helped him because he then would have had, because he was very close with Ursula, but Zen and myself would be talking to Nash and trying to calm him down sometimes when he went a little bit too hard. But that's how he wanted to play, so credit to him. And he sure stuck to that to the end. But I reckon if you had a couple more voices talking to him just to try and measure like some of the things that he wanted to go and do, and just assess like risk v reward, like have a think about it, because he probably needed a little bit of steer early on. He was like a 17-year-old boy that's gone to a formal for the first time and just sees targets everywhere and just went ballistic.
Well, so one more question kind of on this topic, and then we can move on. But as someone on my fantasy team, I'm looking out for you. I'm seeing where you're voting, edit stuff like that as I'm watching this first episode, and notice that you had voted for Nash that first tribal council, and it's kind of setting up that's like you're kind of aligned with him, maybe not. So walk us through like what went into that first tribal council for you.
Yeah, that was a really easy one. So that was more establishing trust with the whole group, because that's what I wanted to do. I didn't want to isolate myself in the beginning. So as soon as the consensus was we flushed the idol, I said quite openly to Nash and to the others, I'm flushing the idol, right? So I just go, if it's that obvious and it's known, I don't think there's any advantage in that. So I just said, you'll be able to rely on me. If we're all agreeing that we're flushing the idol, I'm flushing the idol. And I was still open to working with Nash quite a lot, right? But when the decision was made to get rid of it, and I actually wanted to get rid of it when it's so open and everybody knows about it, I'm like, just get rid of it and start again. Because if he finds another one really quickly, and then he probably keeps it in his pocket, it's the hidden element of the immunity idol that I think's ultimately the most powerful. So I actually wanted him to dispose of it very quickly and told him he should use it because that's the plan.
That's good.
Yeah, it's good advice. And it does seem like, I love that you all, even though you were voting for Nash, but you're still it's just about the immunity idol. You want to work with him and you're willing to work with him going forward. And, one of the other, I think, relationships that we saw, at least maybe between the lines, it seemed like you and Kristen were particularly close. What we didn't see much of it. How did you two connect? What did you bond over? Would you have considered her your number one? Tell us about your relationship with Kristen.
Yeah, for sure. And you won't meet a nicer person in 100 days of activities and whatever. She is a ripper. So no, we connected from day one. Both sort of went in with as honest an approach to the game as you can, right? So not interested in really being the ultimate disruptor and being really conniving, but knew who we were, what we would stand for and what we wouldn't, but forming a strong bond and then making moves based on what were, our best interests, right? So I really liked the way that Kristen was going to go and play the game. And I thought she was ultimately one that you could really bank on. You know, like if we committed to something, then, you know, she wasn't devious in any way. You'd be able to go ahead, talk things openly, decide on whatever move you'd make, and then you could bank on that happening. So I really like that about Kristen.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good. One other question, kind of this pre-merge section for you. You kind of got your ass handed to you by Miles on that kicking challenge. What was going on?
Man, Alex calling out, coming in hot.
Hey, I'm looking out for you, man.
Listen, I'm still seeing a counselor about that as well. So that just set me back 2 months.
Sorry to bring it up. Yeah.
I swear to you, not a day goes by where I don't go to football and someone talks to me about that now, you know. So it'll be with me for a long, long time, unfortunately. So
good.
Mate, that bloke just took 3 steps backwards, walked forward, toe punted a ball, and it went in the top corner every single time. And I'm still standing there scratching my head going, I can't work this out. I can't get my foot under this wooden thing. And I felt like I was going to slip off the platform. That was a beating and a half. But I'm still licking my wounds, to be honest.
Good.
But good on him. Jeez, you've never seen someone celebrate more than Miles. That was his big moment when he just went 6 for 6.
Yeah.
It was like he had this thing on a string. So, no, that was a top moment. But to see him celebrate, unfortunately, I didn't do well for my own team, but it was good to see him do it. But wow.
Yeah.
Took everybody by surprise.
In your defense, he probably did not do this, but it's gonna be what I tell myself is that Miles is a big enough of a Survivor fan. He practiced that exact challenge. He found a lake. He kicked some balls on a wooden block. That's what happened. That's what I'm gonna tell myself at least.
Mate, there's no like I don't kick balls off tees and volleyballs in the wet and whatever else. It just seems so foreign to me. I go, and you don't get a chance to rehearse anything, right? You're on.
Yep.
So, and that's the good part of it. So he just walked up and didn't overthink it and just went whoosh. And the rest is history. He celebrated like he was the king. It was good.
It's a David versus Goliath moment for sure. Oh, man. So looking at, we then moved to the tribe swap, right? Which, as a Survivor fan, is a milestone. So as a fan, what's going through your head when you hear JLP go, all right, drop your buffs? I mean, what's the first few things you're thinking as you're dropping the buff and getting ready to pull a new one?
Now, that was great. I actually was really pumped about that because Ursula, Kristen, and myself, after Nashs was gone and Zen unfortunately had to leave, we were in the minority at OG Brawn. So tribe swap was absolutely music to my ears because you were always hoping something like that was going to happen. So I wasn't really panicked at any stage because I felt safe, but it was only for a short amount of time. So tribe swap was beautiful, but I just wanted to then see what happened when the buffs came out. And it was a terrific split for me, just as luck would have it. So I was eagerly anticipating that to happen. But I was over the moon when I saw the way that the names came out. It was actually pretty good.
Is that just because of the brawn versus brain divide? Because, Kristen and Ursula ended up on the other side. Were you worried that maybe the other brawn would throw you under the bus?
No, the way the numbers worked out. So when Ben, Jesse, Kate, and Morgan were, because they were 2 strong pairs and they worked well together as a 4. So when that 4's set up and on the other brawn, I looked at Max Miles, Zara, and Laura and go, I'm in a beautiful position here because I can jump ship and decimate the OG brawn if that's the way I wanted to go, or I could stay brawn strong because that's what they would want and they'd get the minority out. So I knew very quickly, as soon as I saw them line up, I go, perfect, I'm right in the middle here and it gives me an option on which way to go. And I was this close to jumping ship, but it was only Max's erratic sort of behavior that I go, and him and Miles were against each other. It was a mess. And I just go, that's not really what I was hoping for. So I stayed brawn strong. But geez, it was on my mind to jump ship and start to knock the OG brawn off. It was just that one little dynamic that I didn't love. with Max and Miles, and that's the reason why I didn't switch.
Well, I mean, that was a chaotic dynamic. When you got over to that swap tribe, which brain did you connect with first, or who is maybe the strongest connection?
Oh, Zara by a mile. So Laura and Zara are both very, very good players of the game and terrific people. But it just so happened that Zara and I connected really early and really strongly. And I genuinely think that she's probably the most underestimated person in the game. And she went incredibly far, but she's very good at it. And yeah, top person to be around, but very good player of the game as well. So our connection was really good. And then we'd thought ahead about what was going to be happen should we get back to a merge scenario if our numbers stayed where they were. We had a terrific little scenario that was going to be playing out, but stupid me ruins that for everybody. So anyway, it would have been there. So Zara, Karen, myself, and Kristen would have been quite a formidable little group when we get to merge later on. But
what I love about that
now.
that would have been kind of hidden, right? That group of four. I don't. Would everyone else have suspected you four to work together at the merge?
Would have no idea, because Zara and Karen were very close, and Kristen and I were very close. But both individual groups had spoken to each other and said, "While you're on the tribe swap now, they're your people, right? So get friendly with each other and work together," because both of those pairs had spoken about, if we make merge, that's the easiest little group to bring together, and it will have some real strength. If you think about how the rest of the dynamic played out in a merge scenario. So it was, stealth. No one was aware of it, pretty much. They knew about the strong pairs, but not the combined four. And I look back with so much sort of, I don't know, like regret in a way that I didn't get a chance to play out, because it probably could have been one of the strongest groups that would have been moving forward into the game.
Yeah, that would have been an interesting, we love, as like things shook out, it ended up kind of being the OG tribal lines that held intact, and in part because of the graduates. But I do love getting to see those mixed tribal alliances, and a certain Miles and his idols robbed us of that. But one other thing that was really prominent about the pre-merge, especially with these swapped tribes, was another Miles' partner in crime, AJ, coming up with his hostage strategy. What was your reaction to him at that challenge, bringing up hostages? Were you already thinking about throwing the challenge? Yeah, what's your perspective from?
No, I wasn't, and I never want to go into a competitive scenario and lose. Right, it's just not how I'm made up. But he certainly spooked. AJ spooked some of the players on our tribe quite a bit. And then that conversation about throwing challenges, that then surfaced. And I couldn't tell you 100% whether some of those were or not. I can tell you that I wasn't interested. There was only one scenario in a game where we were considering it, and we had a little signal about whether we would or wouldn't. It was the one we were throwing the sandbags against the coconuts, the numbered coconuts. But we didn't throw that in the end. We won that, right? So, but certainly Ben and Jesse were really concerned about what damage AJ would cause if he kept going back to tribal council. And there was a view that if you can control, the agenda by going to tribal council yourself and voting out who you want, then it can take you further in the game. So, a lot of conversation in our tribe about that. But certainly I didn't know if they were, but I was in it to win it, to be honest.
Yeah. I think it was that challenge. There was an idol hidden in the sandbags, but was it you, Max, Miles, still trying to finish the puzzle?
And I'm there, I'm going, really? Is this what we're doing? So we finish it off because they're all over there like scavengers going through things to try and find it. And I've just gone, anyway. So Max, Miles and I, we finished the challenge. And then after that was done, we walked down, and that's still one of the funniest moments. When Miles picks it up, it's floating in the water, and these people that have been desperate for it, it's right there. Miles walks down, picks it straight up in the water and goes, "I've got it, you pricks," and then walks straight back. It was one of the. I was laughing the whole way up the beach, just the way he found it and what he said, and then he just trotted off. It was very, very good. And I just looked at those other ones that were on their hands and knees going through hundreds of bags. I go, what were you looking at? Yeah, right there in front of you.
I'm so glad that happened the way the edit showed it happened.
Yeah.
But that's as it was, right? But it's probably more time transpires before you actually see it. So it was this frustrating, come on, guys, is this what we're really, is this what we've resorted to? But that was a classic Miles moment that I'll remember for quite a while.
All right, so we've got to talk about it. The injury happened pre-merge here as well. Walk us through the experience, right? Of going down the slide, wrestling, tearing the bicep, and then kind of the aftermath of that.
Yeah. The one thing that you have to know going in is that you're always advised to just be sensible in challenges. But you know what? As soon as the challenge starts, like, you can think of nothing else apart from winning, right? And it's not the pasta. Like, we're wrestling over a bowl of pasta. I don't even like pasta that much. But it's you're in a contest, right? So your brain just goes win. So we get down the slide, and Kalen's a fit guy, right? He's a strong, terrific bloke, really good bloke. But yeah, he's strong as an ox. So I'm a bit dirty. I'm the 50-year-old bloke that's battling through this, but I'll take you on, no problem. So we wrestled, and it's a really good tussle. I'm really enjoying. Like, that contest was great, but and it goes for a bit longer than what you think on the TV. But anyway, he rolls me into a position where there's negative pressure on my arm, and I know it's not supposed to bend that way. And then all of a sudden, it just goes pop, and it literally feels like like a lightning bolt through your arm. And I thought for sure this is what a broken arm feels like, right? So I didn't want to look down, but the first thing you do is look down. And it wasn't broken, but it looked really odd. And sure enough, it's the rupture of bicep, and the bicep calls right up to your shoulder, right? So it's it was a good job, but I reckon it's half pain and half unbelievable disappointment that floods through you, and this isn't good. Like, you may get through it, you may not. Like, I thought 90% I was gone instantly from the game at that point. But even with the 10% hope where you come back and you go, yeah, you can stay, your head tells you that it's almost like a matter of time. Your fortunes change quite a bit as soon as something like that happens.
Did you
And it
think
robbed me of
about
my biggest dream. My biggest dream was winning an individual challenge.
Yeah.
So when people talk about milestones, I've always wanted to do individual challenges and get that necklace. And I go, that's not all I want to do. I want to win it. But geez, that was one of the things that I really wanted to do. And unfortunately, I'm on the sideline for a few of them, and I just can't. So that's the bit that I'll regret the most. An individual challenge and pushing myself to try and win that. That's really one big thing that I wanted to do.
Yeah. Well, I was hoping once we hit those individual challenges, there'd be some that you would be able to compete in. But if I remember correctly, you weren't able to do any of them?
No.
Okay.
And Alex, I'm with you. Like, the skateboard one I could have done, like the lat pull down one. I'm like, I'll use my left arm. No problem.
Let's go.
I don't care if I come second last in that. Just let me compete.
Yeah.
And I still maintain I definitely wouldn't have come last in that one, even with my left arm. 100% I would have lasted longer than some that dropped that.
It's like your left arm was twice as big as everyone else's arm. So it's like, come on.
I was happy to take part, but for safety reasons, they tell you in advance you just can't do it, and you sit down, and you've never felt more just hopeless than when you sit there in a sling and you're watching people do what is something that you've dreamt of. That's just like, tough feeling. But anyway, I still get to play.
Yeah. You still got to play. I really hate it when people get medevaced, because there's many times there's no control over it, and so you hate for someone's game to be ruined in that way. And so I was glad to see you get to continue to play. But for you, as you kind of alluded to, like, it changes everything. So how did your strategy start to change after the injury?
Yeah, you got to rely on other things. Like, you hope that you're no longer a physical threat, because I don't know if it had come out. I did well in challenges, but I don't think people realised what I had for other challenges coming up. So I love it, right? So I knew I was going to be quite a threat in challenges, but I always not talked it down, but I didn't talk it up at any stage. So so that strategy then goes, and you then got to rely on social connections and kind of moving the target to other people. But as it would happen, it didn't last too long, but I knew you had to pivot and do something completely different because my plan A strategy had been blown out of the water, and I certainly wasn't able to win challenges to protect myself and others. I was sort of relying on, other elements, which, didn't quite play out the way I planned in the end.
Well, no, we had talked to Kaz, I believe, said it that, hey, once you had the injury, you were out of challenges, you really became like the most valuable person on the tribe. People wanted to work with you at that point because you couldn't compete in the challenges. Did you feel that? Were people telling you that? Did you feel that kind of in this tribe dynamics here?
You definitely you do a little. I was lucky. I was often seen as someone that was trustworthy and approachable to a degree, right? So I didn't have a shortage of people that were chatting to me about, longer term strategy in the game, which was always nice. And I didn't present a huge threat at that stage around challenges. I was one of them, not one that could really hurt them, with me deciding, what would happen if I had immunity. So you definitely felt a bit of that dynamic change. But I would have thought, because Kaylin goes on a record run, and there are some people like Ben was a physical beast. Zen was, I'd like to think that I was competitive in challenges as well. So, I throw away some of the competitive threat that would have been in scenarios for challenges, which for some, I agree, it helps you in a way where they want to work with you because, I am no threat, but I think it would have been more useful to them if I was winning challenges and trying to protect my alliance.
Yep. Well, and so backtracking just a few days here, one other challenge I just have to ask about. I cannot remember exactly what it was, but at one point in like the obstacle course, you had to kind of go up a cargo net on your back, and you flew up that wall. I was like, I blinked and you were up there, and it's like, what? How did you do that?
It's a slippery dip that's got water rushing down it. So we just sprinted because Jesse had the same theory. You just sprint and dive as hard as you can on the slippery dip, and you go up, right? And then you just have to turn, and you've only got 3 or 4 rungs that you need to sort of worry about. But those that started at the bottom and climbed their way at the top, I go, you're making that way harder than it needs to be. So you're right, but that's all about sprinting and reverse, sort of scaling the slippery dip. Instead of coming down, you slide pretty much halfway up it if you run fast enough.
Incredible. Yeah, it just looks fun as hell, right?
You want the slippery dip in your house. I'm telling you, whenever there's a challenge with that slippery dip, everybody's enthusiasm goes through the roof because it's heaps of fun. Heaps. Yeah.
Well, on that note, was there of the challenges you got to participate in, was there a favorite challenge you got to do?
Yeah, anything with a slippery dip, minus the bicep. Let's get rid of that one. But the slippery dip was heaps of fun. And the slingshot is a cracker as well. Yeah. So that's boyhood fun where you just get to launch coconuts at things that are miles away. That was really good fun. So if you have one of them in your backyard, a slippery dip and a slingshot for coconuts that goes into your neighbor's house, you got a good backyard.
I don't yet, but I'm about to. I'm going to the store after this. Yeah.
I'm surprised I don't see one behind you, man. In that backyard. You're out there building it.
Oh goodness. Well, we kind of with that in mind, right? That challenges are fun. Your strategy has to adjust, and we get Jesse gets voted out, and it looks like Paulie is going home, and of course Miles has his big moment, his big play. For you, did you have any indication that Miles was A, about to steal an idol, or B, that you would even be a target at that tribal council?
No, so I knew I was going to be a target because that's the first time in the game that your name's being socialized across the groups, when the scramble takes place. So I was certain of one thing, and I said that at the time, I'm 100% sure that Paul's going home, right? Because it was either myself or Paulie, one of us was going. So that's all I knew. Paul's definitely going home. I didn't know at that time that it was me, because I relied heavily on the relationships that I built to get me out of that. So I did think that Paulie still had the majority, but Kristen was only going to play her idol should Paulie, well, I think she was, if Paulie pulled one out of the hat and said, I'm safe, then Kristen was, I believe, prepared to do that. But always it was hers to play. I never tried to do anything like that. It was up to her. But Miles's move was a cracker. It was so good. So when he stole it early on, I go, "Ooh, that's an interesting move." But I didn't quite realise that he was ready to play that until, Jonathan says, "Is there anything else?" And then I was like, "You filthy rat! I know it's coming now." so that happens very, very quickly. So it's all a bit of a blur, because you're trying to really look across the rest of the contestants there at Tribal and work out, where their alliances sat. So, look, I was pleased that my original alliance had stayed true, and I didn't receive their votes, because that would have been a little disappointing. But I hated the fact that I went. I love the fact as a Survivor fan that it played out that way, because it was a ripper. Like, it was such a good move that I'll remember for a long time. I go, "That's really cool, Miles. That's a good one." Yeah.
I love that perspective too, right? It's like, hey, let me go out with one of the best tribal councils of the season, and maybe Miles can buy me a beer afterwards.
I'll trip him up the stairs if he might get a chance to. But as a fan, it's good, right? You look at that and go, I'd rather that happen than something that's boring that, like you don't remember. So moves of that nature, that's what gets us all hooked, right? We've watched the series forever because of things like that, right? So it's part of the game, and you should celebrate those moments, not begrudge them.
Yeah. It's so good. So good. So you had just missed out on the jury. Hate that for you, but glad you got to go home rather than being there. Now, a little what if game. Let's say you are the first member of the jury. Do you feel like watching kind of the end game, who would you have voted for in a final tribal council? Miles or Caitlin?
That's a top question. If in the final pairing that was there, Miles gets my vote 100%. Because people don't realise just how much he was on the bottom when you go through day-to-day life at camp. He was always a target, and it just so happened that someone either pushed themselves or others in the firing line, and Miles survived every time. But he was always the +1, right? So he went 48 hours before we went to Tribe Swap without eating, because they had no fire. So Laura, Zara, and Miles had nothing to eat, and were really struggling through a shelter that was leaking, and they were just drenched, and there's no food. So they went through hardships, Zara, Miles, and Laura, that probably the others didn't. So I looked at that, and how Miles survived and still strategized his way to the top was worthy of winning, right? So Miles and Kaylin, Miles gets it. But if you put Zara and AJ in the same scenario in any which way of the three, that would have been a really tough choice, because Zara did so much in my mind to possibly win. She would have been hard to not vote for, and AJ as well. AJ was quite the mastermind behind the scenes. I know it comes up in the show a bit, but it's probably even more so. When you're playing the game. He was a very, very good strategic player. So they would have been tough. Those three would have been tough.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a good Final Four, just overall. I mean, very distinct strategies from every single Final Four player. When you get home and I imagine you hear about what happens after the fact. Was there anything that really surprised you about hearing how the rest of the game unfolded?
Probably just the way that people had gone and how quickly they met their demise. Because you spoke to Karen, right? Karen is incredible. She's so smart, and she's so good at relationships, and she loves the game. But she's got that time bomb sort of scenario where when it blows, right? So it's, and you're not exactly sure when it's going to happen. So, but I really thought people like Karen especially would have kept going deep into the game, just how good they were playing. So it's probably just the speed at which some of them met their demise that surprised me. But yeah, it made for good watching for sure.
For sure. Yeah, for sure. All right. So let's say JLP invites you back for a future season. Are you saying yes? And if so, what's your strategy? Are you changing it? Are you doing something different? Are you keeping the same? What's your move?
Alex, I'm at the airport before he finishes his sentence. Like, there's
my man
100%. No, I'm dying to go back on. If I get a chance to go back on, because I just feel so disappointed that like my fortunes changed so quickly, and I'm not sure if it would have been the same, but
yeah,
you never know. But it felt like as soon as I became so incapacitated, like my fortunes just dived. So I'd love another shot, should it ever present. And the strategy has to change a little bit because you're a known commodity now, right? So if people know that I'm as trustworthy and as hardworking and as capable in challenges as what I was or appeared, that's a known element. So I think that can work to your advantage, but you'd be silly not to try and adjust a couple of things and use the element of surprise. So I think if you get another chance, you could align with someone quite sinister in the background and no one would ever think that of you, but you could get away with it, right? And you'd have certainly plausible deniability when they asked you, you know, did you or didn't you? You say, me? Of course not. So as soon as you're known, you know, like it's easy then to use that to an advantage and think about something else. So no question, there'd be a slight change in strategy in the back of your mind. But I still think you have to be, for the most part, like who you are, and it's the subtle little changes behind the scenes that will probably create the surprise element that you can use to your advantage.
Yeah, my man. I mean, I'd back you again with that because that is my strategy anytime I play a game. It's, hey, I'm a nice guy. What? I wouldn't backstab you. What's going on? And so to have that, I'd back you again. Yeah, that's good. They gave me some shit in our preseason draft because I picked you and AJ first. They're like, can you count more than 2 letters?
Well, start peppering JLP or get someone on the show, like get a petition going because I am there. I will, because you have to drop everything, right? You don't realize you drop your whole life, right?
Yeah.
Which is a big commitment for anyone that's in your life, like to keep things going. But yeah, it's like such is the size of the dream and the excitement about being, you know, on that show. You drop everything first time, and for me, you drop everything second and third time. You just, whenever they call, drop everything and get there. That's it.
We love to hear that. Well, on that note, let's say it's a future season, it's returning players, and maybe it's returners versus newbies. Who is someone you want on your tribe, whether Australian or US? Who's someone that you want to see on that tribe with you? And who's someone you would hate to see on that tribe with you?
Wow. Okay. On the American tribe, the American series, what was Hatch's name? The devious one.
Richard Hatch. Yeah.
Richard Hatch. Yeah.
Yep.
You don't want to see people like him there. If you saw Boston Rob there, you just fly straight under Boston Rob's wing and take a steer all the way through. But certainly people like Ferras in Australian series, Kirby, like some of these players that are in there as before that played admirable games. Geez, you'd love to see him there. And if King George was there, I would nestle right up to King George and take a steer and let him do all the devious work, and you're part of it. But that'd be good. But I really hope Zen gets another chance in the game because his season ended so early, and you know, through no fault of his own. But yeah, if people like Zara or Kristen or Karen were back on the show, far out, that would be super if you got another chance.
Yeah, well, we've seen even in Blood versus Water, and then heroes versus villains. They brought Nina
Mhm.
back. So I'm seeing
Yeah.
a Zen and PD come back in
Mhm.
round 2. That's what I'm rooting for now.
If there was a redemption round like that and you just had a chance to fully play out your dream,
Uh-huh.
yeah, I would be bouncing on my toes for 6 months. Like, it would be unbelievably exciting. But when you hit the beach, wow, like, especially if you know now what to expect and what some of the real positives are, but some of the negatives that you have to work through as well, it would make life in the game so much easier, because I think it's just some of the unknown that you deal with and your response to that that can throw you for a loop sometimes.
Yeah.
So if you go in and you're playing the game a second time round with that knowledge under your belt, it would be, a real advantage.
Yeah.
All right, PD.
So start a
last
petition. You boys get the petition going. We're on.
down in the comments. Petition.org. We'll get it rolling.
Get it. Yeah, and I promise, when there's a pasta challenge, whoever's against me can eat all the pasta they want. I ain't touching it.
They brought you the pasta. Did you know that Miles had stepped in it before they brought it to you?
Funny story. They did bring me 3 swirls of pasta. And they go, so when I was out, they go, your team won pasta, so you can have this tiny little bowl of pasta.
Oh, production brought you. Oh.
I had pasta, which made me laugh so much. And I go, this is what I'm going through now in 8 months recovery that I'm still going through for 3 tiny little swirls of Napolitana pasta. Thank you very much.
Oh, it's incredible. All right. So on that note, one of the last questions we've got for you, would love to hear any like fun or favorite moments that you had out there during your time on the island that we didn't get to see that you want to make sure to share or share with us.
Look, there's some stories that you and your tribe mates go through that probably aren't for this episode. Right?
Totally good.
There's some great life stories that you bond over that are absolutely hilarious, but they're like quite a personal nature. So it is good. But some of the moments that I'll never forget, and I hope the others don't. There are mornings where you wake up and you're sitting there with maybe, if some are still sleeping, but there's 6 of you that are just bums and feet in the sand at this remote beach as the sun rises in Samoa where no public can go. And you're in a game with complete strangers who you end up learning to love, right? You really become close. And someone will mention, guys, you know what? Like, just take this in because it's such a special thing that we're doing at the moment. And don't worry about the game. This is just one of those moments, right? So there's a few of those that I'll never forget. I got goosebumps talking about it. So you remember those things. They are unbelievably special. So you form this family bond with strangers that now you'll share. Like, you could catch up with them in 20 years' time and you'll probably have a chat to them like it was last week that you saw them because you've got this shared experience. So it's really weird. For those that go, oh, how do you get so close over a short period of time? It's real. It happens. Yeah. So it's moments like that, like those moments in like pouring down rain in the middle of the night where you're trying to help someone through a bad night, and just say, just hang in there and tomorrow's better. Or moments like that on the sunrise where you're just sitting there with those people, like taking it all in. They're the things that you remember most.
I love that.
There you go. There's a soft moment for you.
Hey, we're going to end on that moment. That's good before I put my foot in my mouth another time. So, PD, it has been an absolute pleasure talking to you today. Anything that you want to plug to listeners? Where can they find you? Anything like that?
Hey, you know what? Before I went on, I'd never been on social media, right? It just wasn't me. But I'm Paul_D13, right? So hit it up. So I was on Instagram to get on the show, and that's it. So I'm loving it now. I'm posting a few things. So Paul_D13 is where I'm at. So by all means, and if anyone's heading to the Northern Beaches in Sydney, I'll put a barbecue on for you in my joint. You can, jump in the pool, head down the beach. It's all good.
All right. Hey, Caleb, let's catch a flight. By the time we get there, we need that big slip and slide ready to go for us. All right.
We get a few slingshots into the neighbors.
Hey, there we go. These dumb Americans keep hitting coconuts through the windows. Petey, again, thank you so much. It is such a pleasure to talk with you, get to know you, and hear about your game. Listeners, if you are not already subscribed to us, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, Instagram at Speaking Llama, we'd love to talk to you there. And we'll speak Llama to you later.